Hello, hello. Welcome to Rise Above the Grind with the Consultress. I am Alissa Bickar, your hostess here, bringing you amazing conversations from entrepreneurs from around the world around what does it mean in today's day and age, in this age of disruption, where we're making something brand new that's never been before. We're going to flip the script on a term called grinding, because in our hustle and grind culture, in the suffer to succeed model, that's not what works out here anymore, ladies and gents. So without further ado, I want to invite you with great respect and admiration for my guest with us here today, Miss Kim Korven. How you doing today?
Thank you, Alyssa. I'm actually doing really well, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Amen, lady. Listen, those that show up together go up together. So I'm so pleased to have you here. Just a little behind the scenes, Kim is one of the participants and clients in my community where we get to workshop and support each other just like this week after week. So, Kim, I know you have been up to some really great things in your work, but also like none of that comes without the awareness that when we notice things that are not working, we need to make a change. And an entrepreneurship that I believe changes the world, we also get to look within and see what's not working for us. So, with that in mind, with that backdrop, let's get right to the heart of the matter and how do you define this term grind? And then how does that show up or has that shown up in your life and in your work?
So it's interesting. The word grind, it's like, that grr, that nasty sound. It repels me.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because your questions, I had to think deeply, and it's like, oh my Lord, I grew up with grind being the norm, right? Like I grew up on the farm, and I remember when I was about 20 being the only person home, and we had some livestock. I had the flu. And so I remember going out to the barn, vomiting on my way to the barn, lying on the barn concrete floor to do chores. Now, that's grind, right? That is grind as a way of life. Instead of stepping back and going, will it really harm the chickens if they don't go outside today? They have water, they have food. Like, who am I kidding? And as an example of the grind is tries to be gone. I saw Cora sleeping in my office, and I had the option of letting her leave or letting her stay. And I thought, I'm going to let her stay because this is an example of what happens when I work now.
And I love that. I mean, during the pandemic, a lot of us entrepreneurs that worked from home when our kids or family were not home or worked out of the home and then had to create an office in our home, like that juxtaposition of like what it meant to be a professional versus somebody at home. Like we had kids popping on screens. We had interruptions knocking at our doors.
Mhm.
And I know for me, I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed that this part of my life is now intruding on this part. But what I found was the disruption of what we assumed to be the way we had to be created more space for compassion and more evolution, more conversation
Yeah,
among our peers around among our clients, among our communities. Um, so yeah, I think that that awareness that something like something's not fitting or it's causing us distress, or we have to like let go of our feelings of obligation and tune in. It's really
hmm
powerful when you start to really ask yourself, well, what really matters right now? And I'm
Well,
hearing
and
your grind story. You asked yourself, like, hang on, what really matters right now? So, yeah, go ahead.
but it was just
Question,
it was
but
just below the surface, right? It was hidden commitment for years and years, and it still tries to be hidden commitment. And then I also thought about when I used to compete in judo, and we had to drive like 45 minutes twice a week um, for me to practice before I had a driver's license. None of that was grind. That was fun, that consistent effort, the
Mhm.
consistent learn.
Yeah.
It felt like play. So it's
And that
interesting, right, in the context of that kind of consistent effort. When is it grind and when is it play? It can be either.
Okay. So I'm going to open that up. When is it grind and when is it play? Like I know in your professional life, you've seen this. When is it grind and when is it play? So like take us in a little bit to how you pay this awareness of kind of knowing when it is which one and how you pay that forward in your work today.
Well, and I'm going to back up to, I think, the first time, because the other part, the first time really when I started questioning grind, because part of grind is we're in control and we are doing the things
Yes.
we
Studio audience,
have,
hands raised. Grind equals in control. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Okay, go ahead. Proceed.
We are doing the things that we have to do. So I ended up, 10 years ago, I ended up with a 10 millimeter gallstone. That's almost half an inch in diameter in my bile duct. And so it took a few surgeries to get rid of it in 11 days. And then I had my gallbladder out. And then 2 years, and I just continue in the grind mindset. I'm back at work between the two surgeries. And then 2 years later, I it felt like I was having a gallbladder attack. And it's like, what's going on? So I asked, the higher power, what do I do? Go to emergency. Okay, okay. And I ended up in the hospital for 4 days with issues with my liver enzymes. 4 days after I get out, I had a settlement meeting scheduled. I was still practicing law then. So it was family law, client, and I'm sitting in the other lawyer's, the reception area. And I realized, oh, my head is not going to carry me through this. My brain is completely offline. What am I doing here? Like, I'm just out of the hospital 4 days. And once again, I asked higher power, what do I do? And the message was, Kim, lead with the kids. So we get in this four-way meeting, and I ask my client's former spouse about the kids. Everything shifted in the discussion, right? And it really took it from grind to something elevated, something much more in alignment with greater good,
Mm.
right? That was my first conscious experience with that. And since then, I've also seen, oh, let's look at it as play, right? It doesn't always have to be heavy. I don't
I
always
love
have.
the I love the intuition around ask about the kids. You're like, okay, so like I don't feel prepped, I don't feel prepared, I don't feel like my left brain is like, we're in chaos. We should be but your intuitive side, your connected side was like, hang on, let me dial in. Okay, this is the next right step. And you were able to invert the situation not only for yourself, but also change the outcome for your clients. So I'm loving what I'm hearing about this out of necessity, out of need for the state that you were in to take care of yourself and how you were showing up to that space. You also paid it forward gloriously, exponentially to the people who were there because their outcomes matter to them too. And so that grind to play flip over that you do, that's the value you're paying forward. Tell me a little bit more about who you serve and how you kind of continue to grow that impact.
So, I retired from being a lawyer because that was complete grind for me,
Mhm.
billing in 10-minute increments and only being able to consider legal issues related to my client, complete grind, right? When there's a family involved. So I help parents who are going through divorce and I help them divorce peacefully.
Mm.
I had to figure that out myself because I realized, I'd had a client who'd fought over spices with her ex.
Wow.
They got a mediator into the house to divide household contents down to the spices. So I was terrified of traditional divorce, so I had to figure this out in challenging circumstances. And then I had a cousin end up going through traditional divorce, walked off the face of the earth. His body was found about 3 months later. So it's this deep sense of helping families. going through this really tough transition.
Mhm.
And I'm originally, you don't just grind is not a light switch where you turn it on and turn it off. So my evolution started strictly as a mediator, and then some coaching came involved. I do a group program called Unshackled for moms going through divorce, which is an education piece and community. And once a week, it's like a mastermind, as well as me, bringing the legal concepts into real life. But what's really exciting is how things are morphing. And I've created a ritual for divorce. It's something I use with my clients, but it's with yarn that I now sell these little packages. And to help people do the emotional processing that needs to happen for people to be able to make the tough decisions. So there's a sense of play to it. And I'm in the midst of, I had once done a boot camp called my Lawyer Free Divorce Boot Camp. That's becoming an online course with video content and resources because a lot of the people who reach out to me are like, I don't want to divorce like my parents. I
Sure.
still I still love the other person.
Yeah.
I just can't live with them and I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to hurt her.
Yeah, and that's
And
for
yeah.
you, it's paying it forward about how to do it gracefully, peacefully. Like, as I'm hearing you and as I'm listening to you, I don't get that like good divorce. Like you feel like when I hear the word divorce, much like you were describing the word grind, it feels like someone rattling a cage and like you getting all shaken up and going fizzy.
Mhm.
As I'm listening to you talk about doing it peacefully, like you embody that peace and you also embody you've gone through this transition multiple times with other people and for yourself. So that alignment is everything. In business, we people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. And that trust comes from that place of alignment. Do you say what you do and do you do what you say? And if there's something energetically off, people are like, no, something smells fishy. But like when I'm listening to you and when I'm listening to you talk about what you're passionate about, like you embody that sense of like, it's okay, we're just gonna do this thing and it's going to wind up you're going to be challenged, but like there's ways to go through this that I'm going to share with you. And like I kind of feel like, oh, she's going to take care of me. So now I know when I have people who are thinking about it or people who are looking to do it in a better way than the traditional like knock down drag out type of philosophy that most people assume that it is, we know who to send them to. So Kim, right before we go to our studio audience, how can people get a hold of you? Where do you want people to go to find you?
Um, gentlewaydivorce.com, um, LinkedIn, Kim Korven, and I'm in the midst of creating this beautiful new website, kimkorven.com, which is where people can buy the ritual for divorce and sign up for the course and all of these good things. Um, there's lots of free resources though in the blog posts
Hmm.
on at gentlewaydivorce.com.
Awesome.
And it's about empowering people. And you're right, like it doesn't feel like grind. And when I work with people and they're like, wow, we've because I also work with people who've been split up and there's friction. Has I don't know, like we've talked more in the past 3 hours than we have in 4 years, and it's been about our kids. It's just this. Because for me, I don't care about divorce. I care about happy families.
There it is.
And when there's conflict in family, that's when kids get harmed the most,
Yep.
right?
And
So
I'm
that's
this away in the business sense, like this, how you do anything is how you do everything. For me, this is showing up as business development when things go sideways with your clients or the unexpected happens. How do you have those difficult conversations? So if you're tuning in here on the podcast, stay tuned. We've got another great episode queued up right for you right now. So don't go anywhere.